Good morning. My name is Alex Rappaport, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Flocabulary, repping Brooklyn and New York EdTech in general. How many here have heard of Flocabulary before? Okay, thank you. It's about 30%. We have our work cut out. So I'm a musician by training, and I actually started Flocabulary back in the prehistoric era of EdTech in 2004, shortly after college. And really, I'm going to need this, excuse me. Really, the concept back then was learning can be fun, learning can be joyful. And a key part of that belief is that joy, student joy in the classroom is directly linked to achievement. You can't have achievement without engagement and joy. And so Flocabulary was founded on that idea, and to this day, this is what inspires us to keep working. How do we bring this idea to life? Well, we have a team of rappers and artists and educators who create music videos and instructional resources that help do three things. Beyond engaging students, we help students master standards and skills and content across the curriculum. I'll show you more of that in a moment. We build vocabulary across the curriculum. Another core belief is that vocabulary is a building block of literacy, and without it, students can't achieve. And lastly, we help students develop important 21st century skills like the 4 C's and other important soft skills. On a platform level, we're now having students creating their own work, writing songs, making vocabulary cards, collaborating on the platform, and we're also surfacing data that helps teachers and administrators track progress through these important curricular areas. Now, I talked about joy. Another word for joy is engagement, and belief at Flocabulary is that engagement is absolutely fundamental. Any teacher knows this. Anyone who's stood in front of a classroom knows this. Superintendents also know this, though they don't always spend money as though they know this. But in this recent poll, 100% of superintendents say that student engagement is fundamental to learning. Unfortunately, students don't agree. This is the Gallup poll of student engagement. And as you can see from that sort of bushy-tailed late elementary stage up to high school, there's a cliff that you see in terms of how students are reporting on their own interest in school. Now, engagement metrics like this are an indicator of other important metrics like attendance, like graduation. And so student engagement should be very much tied into how we teach and how we inspire students. Now, we use hip-hop music to achieve our goals as far as student achievement and engagement. And why do we do that? Well, number one, the human brain evolved to respond to music and rhyme for thousands of years, tens of thousands of years. And music is one of the most powerful tools we have to teach. That's why we teach little children through music. But then kindergarten comes and we stop, as though it has to be all worksheets and test prep. But that's just not the case. Music can inspire anyone through adults. Now, why hip-hop? Well, hip-hop, if music speaks to our brains and lights up our brains, hip-hop speaks to student culture. Hip-hop has become synonymous with youth culture around the world, and we believe that when students' interests are reflected in the classroom, like the lesson with Ulysses and the graffiti, that we see that those students come to life. So I'm going to play you just a moment of a video on linear equations. As I said, Flocabulary has content across the curriculum: language arts, math, science, social studies. And this is a little snippet of our linear equations video. Maybe you can help me out in the back. Let's turn it up.
I'm not lying, I'm a line. You don't need to ask me. I never curve when these nerds try to graph me. Pick a point anywhere where I lie. You'll find a value for X and find a value for Y. Then slide. Go for a ride, a new value for X, a new value for Y. Check how my Y gets negative and my X gets negative. I'm the best who ever lived. On the graph, there's 2 lines I'm crossing. I only cross each once, no, not often. They ask, what's your Y-intercept? That's where I cross the Y-axis, take it from a vet. They ask, what's your X-intercept? That's where I cross the X-axis, better get in step and line up. You know we make it pop, lines off forever, cause we never ever stop. Come on, when Y equals MX plus B, B is the...
All right, so that's just a little taste of linear equations. And obviously the purpose of that video is to engage students, but also to expose them to those key terms, right, and ideas, and visually represent how points on a graph look. And as I mentioned, for us, engagement is the beginning. It's sort of that critical piece to get students bought in, but from there we work on these 3 key areas as far as the value of the product. Number one is, if you're a math teacher teaching linear equations, this is going to help you deliver that standard to your students, right? So mastering standards is number one. Building vocabulary. All those key terms that we put into that song are vocabulary words that will help students read and achieve across the curriculum. So we make an emphasis on vocabulary, whether it's ELA or math or science. And lastly, 21st century skills. So our lesson sequence is basically built around, do I have a laser? No. Our lesson sequence starts with a video, but then if you can see on this picture over here on the left side, we have a series of activities that students can do. Teachers assign these activities through the platform. The first thing students do is draw vocabulary cards, really get familiar with the key terms. Then we have some reading and a formative assessment to see if students have learned what they're studying. And lastly, and perhaps most importantly, we have a feature called Lyric Lab, where students write their own songs using the key terms from this song. And that's really where, from a Bloom's taxonomy perspective, we're getting students to apply what they've learned in a higher order way. All right, so this is the whole lesson sequence from what we call engage, master, create. Now, we have, at this point, more than 1,000 of these lessons with videos plus across the curriculum. As you see here, language arts, math, science, social studies, a Tier 2 vocabulary program aimed at really boosting reading skills by focusing on words that appear across the curriculum and on state tests. We also have a current events piece wrapping the week's news that ELA and social studies teachers use. And finally, our fastest growing area is SEL, which obviously is a major trend right now. The program's used in many different ways. Introduction, differentiated instruction is huge for ELs and for special education. Centers or one-to-one, project-based learning. This is how it looks in the classroom. These are all images that were just found on Twitter of students performing, of students writing, of one-to-one. Both qualitatively and quantitatively, we've seen tremendous results, both teachers reporting that vocabulary brings focus and perseverance and engagement, but also with our vocabulary program, an increase on state test scores in 3 very different demographics after using our Word Up vocabulary program. And our pricing model is that we have an individual front of classroom teacher plan and then a school and district plan. 80% of our revenue comes from the school and district plan, and we have paying subscriptions in more than 25,000 schools. Granted, we've been at it for a while, but market penetration is fairly significant. And I'll leave you just with this quote. We have a lot of quotes from educators, but I think when you see a quote from a student, that really drives it home. And this student said that he was about to graduate from college and he wouldn't have made it through school without vocabulary, and that really sums up why we do the work we do. So thank you very much.